Hi, everyone. I'm Karen MacNeil, author of the Wine Bible and editor of the digital newsletter Wine Speed. And this is People to Know, winespeed.com's section on the most important and fascinating people in the wine business. And today we are talking with Linda Reiff, who is the president and CEO of the Napa Valley Vintners Association, which actually celebrated its 75th anniversary last year. Reiff was named Wine Enthusiast Person of the Year last year, only the second woman to have ever received that honor. She grew up in the Sacramento Valley of California, in a fifth generation farming family that grew grapes and made wine. And she graduated from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, with a bachelor's degree in journalism and a specialty in agricultural news. In 1987, Reiff moved to Washington, D.C. as the Chief of Staff and District Representative and Communications Director for former U.S. Representative Vic Fazio. And in 1995, she became the CEO of the Napa Valley Vintners. Linda, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Well, I'm here. I wish we were together, but this is terrific. Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. So you started your career in journalism, and I have to just ask, as a journalist myself, do you ever miss writing?
I still write quite a bit. I write, I'm one of the people who does some editing and writing still for what we do for the Napa Valley Vintners. I still love writing, so I have not given that up in any way.
Yes, well, I'm glad to hear that, because once a writer, always a writer, I suppose.
And an editor, for good or for bad.
Now, what inspired you to move to Washington, D.C. and get involved in politics?
Right. Well, I was working as a journalist covering agriculture news, the wine industry, in fact, in California. In this region, and Vic Fazio asked me to come to work for him to first serve in communications to help him as his press secretary, and then eventually I became his chief of staff in DC. I wasn't planning on it being there so long for 8 years, but I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved working for him, and after 8 years then I wanted to come back home to California.
Yeah, my goodness. Did you have a sort of proudest moment out on Capitol Hill?
Oh my goodness. Capitol Hill was great experience for learning how to work with a very diverse set of personalities to try to get things done. One of the things actually that I'm super proud of that we worked on was securing the funding for the grape rootstock importation facility at UC Davis. So we worked on quite a few wine industry issues because Davis being in the district, and that happens to be one of them because it ties directly to my career now.
Yeah, I bet so. Now, when you came back and decided to become involved with the Napa Valley Vintners, of course, you had grown up on a farm, but how much did you know about Napa Valley wine when you began with the Vintners, and also how did you teach yourself about wine?
Okay, sure. Well, just I didn't find the Vintners, they found me. They had hired a headhunting firm in San Francisco, Heidrick and Struggles, and they're the ones who recruited me for the job because of my rather unique background, having grown up in agriculture, boots on the ground in the wine business. My family had a vineyard and a small winery over in Yolo County. And then also the journalism career and the political career, and working on a lot of issues for the wine industry, such as what we just talked about with Davis. So I was already familiar and recruited for the job, and it sounded like a fantastic job, and I wanted to come back to California, so it was perfect. I already knew quite a bit about wine because back in the day when I went to college, even if you weren't 21, you could take wine appreciation courses on campus. And I did that. I took every single one in the evening. It was extension courses. And so I already loved wine very much. I did not know that much about Napa specifically, or the wines of Napa. In fact, I've got a great story. I had to go through 5 rounds of interviews for the job. And the final interview was with the entire board of directors and the entire search committee, all crammed into the boardroom up at the old Napa Valley Vintners office. I remember Dan Duckhorn asked me what I like to drink. And I said, oh, I love Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And the room sort of gasped. And they said, what about Cabernet? I said, no, I don't really drink Cabernet. And they busted out laughing. But I think at the time I didn't realize, like, oh, well, Cabernet is, you know, the it thing. I was just honest. But Dan later told me that really scored points with them because I was just being honest. I didn't make it up. But of course, I went knee deep into learning more about Napa and wine. And Karen, you have a tie-in on this. I took your very first mastering wine class when the Culinary Institute of America opened the wine studies program. We actually met in the big Echo Lab because the Rudd Center did not yet exist.
That's right.
So, yeah, so I've tried to continue to learn, but I thank you again for that terrific first session. I actually took my first week of vacation was to take that class with you.
Oh my gosh, it's really going back now. I'm remembering that. Wow, that was like 1996 or something. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, when you were hired, I can just see Dan Duckhorn howling with laughter about that, by the way.
Yeah.
But when you were hired, the board of directors and a lot of the probably power in the vintners was probably oriented to, you know, the important male vintners of the time, Dan being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel at all that as a woman you had to sort of win them over?
No, I grew up with all brothers, a big family of all brothers. I was the only girl, so I was tough from the get-go and I could hold my own. I also worked in Washington, D.C. with a lot of big personalities, big male personalities there, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. I didn't then and I don't now. I can definitely hold my own and I've never been intimidated.
Yeah, good for you. Well, I mean, I suppose the extension question there is, you know, when you arrived, it was a much smaller organization.
Yes.
I think there were 100 wineries or
That's
something.
exactly right.
And today there are more than 500.
Yes.
And managing all those personalities, even in a small area that is known for pulling together really well and being very cohesive, managing all those personalities has got to have been hard. I mean, how do you do that?
So, you know, it's not managing the personalities, it's working with them. And everything we do at the Vintners is designed through vintner-driven committees, task forces, and the board. So you always have to build consensus and everyone has an opportunity to have a seat at the table. And because of that, there really aren't as many challenges as people think that there might be. Because again, it's through collective work. And that's a lot of what I do is just trying to facilitate discussion around things about what we're going to do on certain topics or issues or programs. Everything, we include vintners in the design, implementation, and then evaluation of everything we do. And that's critical. I don't believe a lot of other organizations do that. It takes a lot of extra work and time, but we're better for it. We're stronger for it.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's true. If you give people the opportunity to play a very strong role, then even when things don't go the way they would want, they still were in there and they were part of the decision.
Yes, exactly.
I'm curious, did you yourself have a mentor or a series of mentors?
Oh, probably a series of mentors. My Grandma Jane, my middle name is Jane, so I'm named for her. She had a pretty large farming operation that she managed on her own in Woodland because her husband had passed away when he was pretty young. And she was a pistol. I absolutely adored and learned a lot from her. And then Vic Fazio, my old boss, he was fantastic. He was a true statesman. He was a Democrat, but he had a conservative district. And so he was one of the people who really taught me how to work with many different people and perspectives and to try to build consensus. And he was just a true gentleman and a statesman. And I admire him. I still keep in touch with him and his wife. And so he was extremely important. And then I have to say that more recently, definitely my husband, Richard Ward, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. He was a terrific mentor, helped me a lot to see different perspectives on things, helped to keep things light for me when I get to in my head or, worried about things. So that's yes. A few, and there are more.
Well, we all miss him, yes, for sure.
Thank you.
And tell us something about you that would surprise most people to know.
Oh, that's normally a question to ask something really embarrassing, right?
We've gotten some pretty amazing, embarrassing answers. That's true.
I play the piano late at night to relax, and not many people know that. Obviously, my husband knew that because he would hear it just to take out energy. And then something that this is my colleagues at the office know this. There's one fast food that I like, and every now and then I'll have it, and that's Taco Bell. I have to admit, it was my favorite in high school, and I still love every now and then the guilty pleasure of Taco Bell. In fact, for my birthday a few weeks ago, they went and got me Taco Bell.
Well, let's see. You're an inexpensive boss. That's all I can say. But a bottle of great Napa Cab and some Taco Bell. Okay.
Actually, we had sparkling wine.
Well, Linda, thank you. And our full interview with Linda Reiff appears on winespeed.com's People to Know page. Please check it out. You'll love to read the entire interview.
Thank you.